welcome everyone after a little bit of technical difficulties. Uh, it's Monday, it's kidding season, everything can go wrong, did go wrong, but we're here and we're recording. So if you didn't tune in for the initial stream, you can watch it back on Facebook or on YouTube. I want to welcome you to the 2025 MR Goats Kiko Lovers Frozen Genetics Sale. Your sale organizer is Mike and Lori Rennick. We're excited to be pairing this on Top Livestock for this time sale. We'll also be clerking the sale out, just normal activity there. If you got any questions, just message us on Top Livestock or email us at info@toplivestock.com. Remind you the sale starts February the 14th at 6 p.m. It goes into extended bidding at 2:15, February the 15th at 6 p.m. We're really excited to be seeing these sires offered to the public for use in the Kiko herds across the U.S., and we hope you've studied them well. And hopefully any questions that you might have had will be answered with the guest speakers. The guest speakers we have tonight are Mike Rennick from MR Goats, PJ Murphy from PJM Goats, and Mr. James Sanders with Good as Gold Kikos. That's your catalog reviewers. And we'll turn it over to Mike. We're going to let him narrate here, and we'll get going.
But thank everyone for joining, bearing with us through these difficult for getting started, especially like James Sanders from Good as Gold Kikos and PJ from Goats for joining me here to go through the catalog review. I think everyone's going to benefit from their knowledge and wisdom on a few of these pedigrees and lots that we have in the catalog. But to get it kicked off, we're going to start with lot number one, the CFI Hemi. Meadows Farm in Georgia to pick him up. This is a buck that had been hand selected for us by Craig. Out of all the Terminator XX offspring during that year, we went down to pick him up. He had lassoed by Nancy's help there on the farm to catch him, exhibiting that Terminator XX wild attribute that they all seem to have. And every time we had to get him on, this kind of the same deal. We had to lasso him. I got to see Terminator XX in person. He was one of the deepest bucks I had ever seen in the Kiko breed. And that carried on through Hemi as well. Hemi did exceptionally well for us here. He had several bucks in the top 10 on the fecal side of the Maryland buck test. I see that PJ's wearing his Maryland buck test hat, so I appreciate that as well here on the live stream. Sons and daughters that did we'll have a few of those as well. I don't know, PJ or James, if you want to add anything.
Well,
I'll say when
Go ahead, James.
All right, you can go.
No, I was just going to say that when, we were active sending goats to the test, that Hemi, as a description that lays out, that he was a goat that you had to keep an eye on for worm resistance, and his goats seemed to just hang in there and always stay on the board.
Right. No, that's when we were I'm trying to think of what year it was that we came out picked up Sunny Boy, but it's been several years ago, and I tried hard. I don't know, for a year or two before that to try to either buy Hemi or get straws from Hemi off of Mike and Lori at that time, and Uh, I guess I've probably tried for several years that and realized he wasn't going to sell any Hemi straws. And this is a great opportunity for whoever it is that ends up with them. And I know there's been a lot of people want them over the years, so I'm excited to see this as lot one in this sale. This is a great opportunity for a lot of breeders.
Yeah, I mean, we were reluctant to sell his straws. You know, Lori especially, she didn't want to let go of them. You know, we've had crazy offers when he was alive for him as well as for his straws, and we've refuted those and turned them down. But you know, we think it's time now to kind of let him out. You know, you can see the cable strip there. You know, 90 he had a 6'2", which is really exceptional in our program. You know, several of his bucks have had top 10 fecals on the Maryland test, as well as sons and grandsons of him have done well on other tests. So, you know, if you want a buck with good hooves, good udders, and consistent growth, you know, this is kind of a way to look.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
would
And
chime in on that.
you mentioned
The term. Sorry, we've got a bit of a delay, so we're getting on top of each other a little bit. But no, I was just going to chime in that that's a great point that Mike makes, that the Terminator stuff. I had it too through in some of the early goats, and the maternal side. Mike mentioned the wildness, that stuff that had a sort of a natural keen instinct and high intelligence. They made really sharp females, and they seem to come with a really good udder package and a tight, small foot that was really easy to manage and stay together really well.
Yeah, we still have several Hemi daughters in our herd that, you know, are approaching 9, 10 years old, that are raising twins. Every time have good udder attachment, nice clean one by one teats, small teats, and they're doing well for us. You know, we continue to kind of infuse it year after year in our program via AI, but you know, it's just something that works for us.
absolutely.
We're gonna go to lot two now. Lot two is
All right,
yeah. Go ahead.
lot two is Hemi's XX. So this is a double bred son of Hemi out of a Terminator XX daughter. So when we originally went down to Rolling Meadows Farm and Georgia picked up Hemi, we also picked up a Terminator 2 daughter. You know, we loved his depth. Um, this buck actually surpassed Hemi in weight as a mature adult. All of his that we've kept have had a one Famacha. They've had the reddest eyes on the farm. They have been incredibly well. That if you look back in the pedigree, that CFC Knight Rider buck that's in there, Pat Lahr has had some offspring out of that line that has done really well for her on test year after year. You know, Hemi's XX was a buck that stood here for us for a while and did really well. He collected really well. His semen was of great quality, and we really liked what we saw out of him. We have several daughters of his in our herd as well. I don't know, PJ or James, did either of you guys see him when you came here and visited the farm?
Yeah, I seen him. Remember seeing him well. He was a very attractive animal. He was of a type that and a pedigree that I actually purchased straws on him at the time, with the intent of using him. I was impressed by him. Just looking at his pedigree again, the fact, you know, to Mike's comments about the maternals and the hardiness, he's actually double bred to Terminator 2X, and he's also got keeper there pretty close up through Warsaw, and under that CFC Knight Rider. That caught my attention combination of genetics that uh, brings some of the same positive traits that we mentioned in Hemi. But again, doubling up on the Terminator 2X, James.
I think Mike's mentioned it a couple of times about the length of body or the depth of body that the Hemi and then Hemi's XX have. I had a guy ask me yesterday if we would try to do something educational for the breeders on this deal. Every time we do one of these, they try to we try to put something in there they can learn from. And I guess my deal is just keep it simple. Um, breed for what you need in your herd. Don't worry about what everybody else is using. I mean, we've looked at a lot of herds all over the country, and very few of them are very similar. What Mike has in his herd might not be the best thing that fits mine. It may be the perfect fit for mine. And what I have in mind, same with his. So use look at the bucks individually and use them for what you need for that doe herd. Um, just remember, these are small ruminant animals. They're just like small cows. First, get the teat structure, just like we were talking about on these Terminator animals. Depth of body, so they have the room for the forage and grow. Um, Obviously, we need length of body for meat, and just keep it. Try to keep it simple and make it. Try try to just make your goats as good as we can get them. And there's 20 lots here, and there's 20 different styles of maybe not 20 different styles of bucks, but a lot of different bucks available in this deal that can fit a big array of does. So I say get in where you're comfortable, but this is a great opportunity. And I just wanted to hit on that depth of body. That's something that isn't seen in all Kikos across the country.
Yeah, I mean, Hemi's XX had a really good rump as well, which, is kind of uncommon in the Kiko breed. He surpassed Hemi in the mature body weight. He topped out at about, I think it was 150, or I'm sorry, 253 pounds, 253, 256, something like that. So, he didn't really have any deficits. He was a good solid buck. He had good feet. His daughters have had good udder attachment, clean one by one teats. He's really been a solid buck for us moving forward.
Okay, going on to lot 3, excuse me.
So lot 3 is another son of Hemi's. I tried to group all these, kind of by their bloodline. So I started out with Hemi, did Hemi's XX. Now we have Hemi's 1311. Hemi's 1311, he's a buck out of Hemi, but the nice thing about him is he's a son of the last living daughter of Samurai Jack, GSK Samurai Spice. She was a great doe for us. We bred her to all kinds of bucks, and every buck we bred her to, she produced offspring that were herd sire worthy. This is just one of those examples. We sold her down to Mr. Willis Hill. This buck went when he was a yearling buck. He did well for him down there, and then we bought him back. His littermate's sister was actually the high selling doe at the cream of the crop that year in 2017. Chris Patrick bought her and did really well for him. He's used him. I think the first flush he did with that daughter was out of Generator, and he loved those does that he got out of that cross. He was a tank. He was a huge buck. He was very hard to handle. I have to be transparent on that, but he was a monster of a buck. So we combined that Hemi with the Samurai Jack, which is, double bred Southwest Cisco. That, is something you don't see very often, but if you want to add size and meat to an operation, this is really a way to kind of look at and go.
Yeah, I would just chime in there that looking back a little bit, opening up the pedigree on Samurai Jack by Southwest Cisco, he really had a name for being uh, tough in the same category as the Terminator 2X, being a half brother by the original Terminator, and then on the bottom, Samurai Jack being out of their own daughter of Moneymaker, out of Sandalwood, of course, by Aurora Aristocrat. So he was um, sort of Kiko royalty at, and in his pedigree and well known at the time. I think maybe some of the current readers mightn't be as aware of him, but if you just it doesn't take very long going back in that pedigree before you get into well-established names.
Yeah, I mean,
I
there
think
wasn't
another
really
thing,
a lot of Jack until we produced this buck and doe. Like I said, the doe produced the number one selling offspring at the 2017 cream of the crop, and then this buck, came along. He was the sibling as well, but since then, a few Samurai Jacks have been produced, but these were the last living offspring, and they just did really well for us.
I think when you look at that pedigree again, Andy, the one thing that I like to look at is longevity. When you look at Samurai Spice, that was a 2010 model doe. When she had this buck in 2017, she was 7 years old. There's a lot of breeders out there that can't keep one alive 4 or 5 years, let alone have them having twins at 7 years old.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's definitely something. A lot of these exceptional sires that people chase were dead between 4 and 6 years old, but if you want profitability, it equals longevity. So if you have a buck that lives for multiple years, that's kind of where your money's made.
Just quick note, I do have the social commenting tied in. So if someone has a question about one of the losses we're going through, if you'll just comment on the live stream post, we'll try to get to that. Moving on to lot 4.
Okay, lot 4 is MRG GT. For me, he was probably the best buck I ever raised homegrown on the farm, MRG GT. He was a son of GFI Hemi as well as GFI Georgia, who was a Hemi daughter. I had the privilege of seeing Keeper in person down at Nancy's on Rolling Meadows Farm, and for phenotype wise, he was the best heel buck I'd ever seen. But I think GT kind of surpassed him here. He had that wide loin, thick body. Pass it on to his offspring. Just kind of an antidote that isn't in the sale catalog. Lori and I went to a sale down at the Carolina Kiko Classic, one of the first years they had it, and we went through the sale pen and we picked out a doe, and she was by far our favorite doe in the whole sale, but she was a substitute in the catalog, so we didn't see who she was. She turned out to be a GT daughter that Willis Hill had consigned, but that's kind of just how he passed it on. She was a real nice doe. So kind of the same way, GT kind of in our minds kind of surpassed Hemi. So we got to see him in person, but GT had all those attributes. He matured out at 302 pounds. He was a great buck at mature weight, and he kind of had it all.
Yeah, I would
I don't
add
know.
there that
PJ, you got to see
on a
him in
visit.
person. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, yeah. So I visited Mike's and we went through looking at books that in that time, and he was a real standout. I thought he was a goat that um, I'd had some very big bucks myself, and while he wasn't the tallest goat I ever seen, he had a huge amount of body to him in that style of kind of low, wide, with an incredible length and depth to him. And of course, that's borne out by the fact that he hit 302 pounds and still wasn't that big. And I think that's more the way that the the breed has gone. We're looking for a lot of heavier muscle, stouter body on a good thick frame, and um, I think I agree with that thrust of the way the Kiko has moved. He really was an impressive animal. I know I got after Mike a little bit to try to get straws on him at the time. But I was glad to see him, because I think when you get to see these animals, and you can hold them up as an example of something that you'd like to pursue. I would comment just that again, he's more of this combination that Mike's had a lot of success with, and others. West Pinion had success with that Terminator 2X and Keeper, laying one over the other. That was kind of a killer combination there in many cases. What about you,
Yeah,
Jim?
I saw GT when we were there that picking up Sunny Boy that day, and you had just got him back from his his hiatus there, and that was I still remember that. You know, a lot of people have photos of bucks or photos of different livestock across the country, and I've drove a lot of miles to go look at an animal and get there and wish I could just buy their camera instead of the animal because their camera made it look a lot better. That buck looks as good in person as any photo I've ever seen. Those photos are good, but you can't get a photo good enough for that. That was a very very good animal.
Appreciate that.
Lot 5.
So lot 5 is Sky High Kiss My Spot. I was fortunate enough to buy this Loverboy son. I tried to buy Loverboy does for multiple years, but they were just out of my price range, and I stumbled upon this Loverboy son. He was out of the dam Tasman Temptress, who also is the dam of Sports Cat and Sky High Trickster, other bucks as well. Um, he just did a world of difference for our herd. You hear multiple things about Loverboy and sometimes questionable udders, but with Sky High Kiss My Spot, we never had any issue with the udders. All the does out of him had, one by one teats. I think that goes back to Tasman Temptress a lot. She was also the dam of Sports Cat as well as Sky High Trickster. Just a phenomenal doe from what I've heard from Sky and others. And, some of these spot does are the best does in our herd right now. I wouldn't trade them for anything.
Um,
I don't know,
so
James, PJ, did you either of you get to see Spot when you were here?
I seen him, and I liked him quite a bit, and I know that we came to an arrangement where I used a son of his, um, and that was high regard. Um, I really liked the way he bred. He was solid. Spot himself was, I think he was, you know, to say in the pictures, I think he was a little bit more impressive, I thought, than pictures. And he, the, that son of his that I had, he bred through too, and he was able to add size and bulk to the does that I gave him to, even in the next crop. So um, I thought he seemed to throw his pedigree pretty well down the line, and you know, you've got Loverboy right there, um, and you've double bred on the Aurora Aristocrat, which um, whether you like the Aurora or Tasman Aristocrat, I feel to think that maybe I like the Aurora a little bit better. I had that sense about it, but either way, you've got you're right in on top of some of the early goats that gained a lot of respect in the breed.
Mike,
But
you commented about the Loverboy, the the talk about other issues on Loverboy. I've I've seen several. Well, we had P5, P6, P8. Had a handful of Loverboy daughters here on the farm, and those does all three had. I know those three all had. Well, the others did too. Or I wouldn't have kept them. Had one by one clean, tight udders. I think what people don't realize is Loverboy was a sire, and Loverboy got bred to a lot of different kinds of does, and he can only be half responsible for those babies. So it does. I mean, I think bred to the right does, and that Temptress doe is definitely one I would call the right doe. I think that deal works really well. I mean, I would have thought it would work really well when they line the mating up ahead of time, and obviously years down the road we see that it worked really well. So that's what uh, a buck. Just like I was saying earlier, the buck is only half of the battle. So make sure you give the bucks the credit and give the does the credit for what they do right or wrong.
Yeah, that's right. That P6 doe that you had is a full sister to Kiss My Spot, and I think she did really well for you.
Yeah, 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 one of those was. There's too many of them, but yes, she was a phenomenal doe. But whichever one was the full sister.
Okay, lot 6, Mr. Highcross.
Yeah, so this is a son of Kiss My Spot out of a keeper doe. PJ got to see this keeper doe when he hauled him back for me from West Pineo. But this is probably the best Kiss My Spot son we've had. When people come to the farm, this is the sire that they pick out as their favorite. His does have done really well in us at the various sales we've consigned them to. He's a big buck, produces nice offspring. I don't know, PJ, you had a half brother, High Regard, if you want to talk a little bit about him.
well, I actually seen High Cross too, and we were down one of the times, and I seem to recall looking at two goats, him and another one, and that the High Cross goat was a superior on, and his pictures show him there. He just had similar to GT, he had that more modern, solid, kind of a lower type with a lot of body through him. And I think he might have been a 2-year-old when we seen him, was it? Do you remember? But um, at that time, he was already shaping up to make an influential sire. Just the depth in the body, and you seen the picture. He's got a very strong hind end in him, and a lot of masculinity. I liked him quite a bit, and he went on, and obviously with his record, he's proven that he can get things done in the breed.
Mike
And
stepped away.
you look at that picture, and he's a young buck, nowhere near what I would call a small buck. And you look at the amount of loose skin that thing still has on him. from that picture, I bet he grew out to be, or is growing out to be a very, very big buck.
Mike stepped away. He's not came back yet.
Okay.
While we're waiting, we want to thank everybody for tuning in and bearing with us on the technical difficulties to start up. And again, if you got any questions on any lots you're watching on Facebook, just comment on the live stream post, and we'll see them right here and can pass those along. Okay, Mike, we're back and ready for lot 7.
Okay, lot
Daddy.
7 is GHK Who's Your Daddy? This is an Iron Horse son. You know, a lot of folks have chased after Iron Horse over the years. We saw this buck when he sold at the cream of the crop as a, I don't know, 7 or 8 month old son. We tried to buy him. We were unable to. A veterinarian out of Ohio bought him, and I told him that, you know, he was a really nice buck. If he ever decided to part with him, to let me know. A few years later, he decided to disperse his herd. We went to pick him up, and he was in a pasture with several horses and ponies. We had a hard time picking him out. He was that big. Uh, we got him and we used him for a while. He produced some really nice offspring, but he was really hard to contain. He kind of broke through all of our gates and corrals and kind of was a problem child for us. He almost killed Sonny Boy at the time, and we ended up selling him to Mr. Yeti Payne out in Oklahoma, and James Sanders was kind enough to haul him back when he purchased Sonny Boy. I don't know if James, if you have anything else to add to him.
Um, you're right. He was a large buck and hard to contain. That was a interesting trip home from West Virginia to Oklahoma that week or that day. Uh, I remember meeting Yeti and Amber, his wife, there on we were in a parking lot somewhere and going to move that. He shows up with I'm in a stock trailer and he shows up with a box in the back of his truck. And I don't consider myself to be a little person, and yet Yeti sure isn't. And we had our hands full getting that buck in the back of that box, the box in the back of that truck. So there's a lot of buck there.
Yeah, you know, his dam was Skybird Salsa P6, who you know, I know has done really well for Wayne Sims and others. You know, that Loverboy Tasman Toya combination, along with the Loverboy Cross, I think has just really been a proven combination that has worked well for others.
Absolutely. P6 is one of the does that we had here until she passed. And I tell you, not many does that have walked these pastures that I've liked as highly as Skybird Salsa P6.
PJ, PJ, anything?
Well, yeah, yeah. All I could add there, because I didn't see the goat, or just looking at his pedigree, Iron Horse's reputation for size, and out of Loverboy Doe and following back again into Aurora Aristocrat. It's not a big surprise that he would have been a very big uh, animal, and the likelihood is these sort of goats add a lot of ADG, high average daily gain. That big size a lot of times will allow you to run in a test. Depending on when you put a goat in, it will allow you to run through the tape and finish a test with a lot of gain. So maybe that's the only thing I could probably add there, is that these sort of goats, if you're interested in testing, sometimes they'll bring a little bit of firepower in the average daily gain category.
Okay, lot 8.
All right, so lot A is PJM Carbon Copy. This is a buck that we were fortunate enough to acquire, one of the few blues copyright sons that PJ let go. He kind of held those tight to the chest as he developed his program. I don't know, PJ, do you have anything you would like to add about PJM Carbon Copy and his kind of progeny and offspring that you had there on the farm?
Well, what I can share about him for sure is that that year, I'm just going to confirm, I think it was 2013. That year, um, I had a lot of buck kids, and I spent the summer going through them pretty methodically on weights and Famaches and fecal leg counts. And I got to the end of that summer, and I had 3 buck kids that I had sorted off, and one was carbon copy, and another one some people may remember is copyright Blue Jay. Those guys came through, and if you look at those pedigrees, the dams that carbon copy and Blue Jay were out of were, might call them three-quarter sisters. They were both out of 2 daughters of a goat that I call Kiwi King. It was Gin W07. And they came through that year with one other, stand on top of a very large group of kids that maintain an eye, that have good average daily gains. And both those dams, the Gene Kiwi King Dale 09 and also Blue Jay's mother, they both had good udders. And so they were goats that I was willing to try to work with at the time. I didn't test the the Blue Jays. Um, uh, they were, there was a couple of it. Well, I think that year they broke, those set of goats broke multiple records just out of that one group that I tested. And so that pedigree is is well tested, and can really get it done in a buck trust. I don't know if there's anything else I could add, but um, you know, I remember putting a lot of work into that summer to find those goats, and carbon copy was one of them.
James, anything?
I think there's not a lot that I can say that those two haven't already said. Obviously, certainly can't fault his pedigree or his confirmation. So it's the proof's in the pudding there.
Okay. Lot 9. Sonny Boy.
I think that there's not a lot that I can say that those two.
All right, so lot 9 is Sonny Boy. He was a son of Warsaw, Sky Warsaw, who was, known as Warrior. He did really well on the Oklahoma test in the fecal category. He won that test. For us, Sonny Boy was a great buck. We had him at a time when we had him and other bucks that we just couldn't give him enough dose here. So James had reached out to us, inquired about him for his program. We struck a deal where he was able to go back. He was going to keep those, but we have several of his daughters here. We still have some in production. We have sons of his. He produced MRG Needs No Introduction, MRG Thriller, who was a twin brother to Outlaw. MRG 1123, another son of Outlaw. But if you're looking for a buck who had great conformation, great hooves, his daughters had great udders. This is one not to look over. I know James got to use him in person, and PJ got to use a son of his. So if you guys want to chime in any on this, that would be helpful.
Obviously,
Yeah, I can.
we used him on
Go
a
ahead.
lot of does and a lot of a variation, a lot of different types of does, and he consistently produced very tough, very hard parasite resistant goats that grew. You were talking about Thriller and Outlaw. We raised SAN Day Money was sired by Sonny Boy. He would have finished at he was I think top two at the Oklahoma Buck Test, and if I may be wrong, but I believe he still holds the what they called the record for the 28-day average daily gain. I think he gained 25 pounds in 28 days there, um, which is pretty tough for a buck in that size. Um, just proof that they're tough. Those city boys are tough. They're hardy. They're great. The does out of him were great mothers. Excellent udder attachment. Small udders. I call them milk on demand does. They made all the milk they needed, but they never had a big bag hanging down low. But they also bred the right does. Those things are really, really good. So I've had great luck with Sunny Boy.
Yeah, so I visited James' farm, and I ended up uh, buying a book that we ended up calling Sonny's Husband, and refer to the tricks part of that equation maybe later when we talk about trickster. But part of what I wanted to pursue there is I want to access the sire on Thriller and Outlaw, and bring in some of the pedigree that the uh, that buck had on the downside as well. But I wanted to be able to access genetics that had been foundational in the production of some of the better performance goats in the breed. And Sonny Boy uh, played a prominent role in those goats that came after him, and I seen Thriller at Mike's and liked him, and so that was sort of a easy choice for me to kind of reach back a little bit pedigree wise and get behind some of the stuff that I had that were really high performers, bring in something a little bit different, and try to preserve some of the maternal characteristics that I was pursuing at the same time, whether it be a kind of a feminine female, if that's not an oxymoron, but uh, females with a lot of femininity, and good udders and small teeth and things like that. It was whole in concert with the production traits.
Okay, lot 10.
So lot 10 is MRG Thriller. He's a litter mate to MRG Outlaw. You know, Outlaw had 3 consecutive years in the Oklahoma Buck Test where he had the top bucks on the test. The year after those 3 years, in the 4th year, Thriller sent a buck out there who had the top fecal buck, and I think the number 3 overall ADG buck in that year. His name was SLS Fort, who doing at a short produced later went on to William Chapman's herd. So that just kind of prove that this Sonny Boy line through Thriller and Outlaw, continued to carry on those characteristics that Sonny Boy and Warsaw had produced over the years. We were fortunate enough to get Thriller back from doing Natty Short and to put him here in our program after foolishly letting him go years before. We were very pleased with his offspring, and as well as having that buck test credential from the Oklahoma buck test, where the #1 fecal buck out of him as well. He had the thickest Kiko. It's not always full of Kikos, but he really eat back there. Phenotypically correct in every aspect, and we were just very pleased with what we saw out of him. I don't know, James, BJ, you guys have anything to add here?
Yeah,
I guess
obviously the
James.
Sonny Boy over that Gold Mine Heritage HKF Nelly One Doe, or Gold Mine Imprint HKF Nelly One Doe. That Sonny Boy was a great buck, but that Sapphire Doe was a great doe as well. And out of what I would be one of the top however many does in the HKF Nelly One ranks up there with the top does in the industry, in my opinion. So yeah, obviously I liked Sonny Boy a lot. I was very impressed with what he sired for us and for different people across the country. You can't discount the mother that Thriller is out of as well, though. Just we're in this business to build females. So keep that in mind. I guess all the bidders out there, you got to have a buck that will make females. I think PJ was touching on that a minute ago, and the Sonny Boy's a great female sire, and adding Sapphire in there doesn't hurt anything at all.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I've seen that HKF Nelly as well, and she was, to me, phenotypically quite a special doe. James would definitely remember better than me, but I think he produced some progeny out of her that did well for him testing wise too. But that Nelly was really a nice one. If you look at on that website, that Sapphire there by Imprint, he often appeared in some of that older quality goats from that era. So yeah, I concur that it's no surprise Thriller kept some of the maternal qualities. He passed on maternal qualities as well as producing goats that could get through the test.
Okay. Lot 11.
Okay, so lot 11 was another Sonny Boy son. This was MRG 1123. He's a buck that we sold to a commercial producer here in West Virginia. Everything out of him that he took to the local sale barn was getting grade 1. He was really throwing some meaty offspring. The owner, with his work, got reassigned to a job in Hawaii. I think he was working for the FBI at the time. So we went down and took a look at him. He had grown out well. We decided to purchase him back. We got him collected. Subsequently, we sold him down to Michael Mink in South Carolina, where he served for a year or two before being killed by one of his senior herd sires there. But phenotypically, he was absolutely correct. He had great hooves, nice straight legs. He had a lot of meat, had a good rump, just like the other Sonny Boy sons we had thriller and outlaw. Unfortunately, he didn't get used over a lot of registered does, but I think he's kind of one of those sleeper bucks that has a lot of potential.
I think the key to that is you sold him to a commercial man. He took him and he put him to work and he made money for the commercial man. That's what we got to keep in the back of our mind, that at the end of the day, this should be about raising meat goats to feed the country. And if he's putting grade ones out there, that's all you can ask for a buck to do.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And just looking real quick at the pedigree on that goat, just on the bottom side there, the going back to on the sire of the dam, HKF Charles, just looking at that being sired by Klondike Confederate by Cody. That Cody goat was, in my estimation, a very good goat. And out of Lockwood Harriet with Godex Goliath over Goliath daughter, so your line inbred to Goliath, and then out crossed with Cody on top coming through into the top of that dam there. So, I could see him being a goat that was able to put a pretty, that aligned with the Goliath double in the top of that pedigree, and of course, Blue Sun being heavily line bred. He was probably a very potent buck just looking at his pedigree.
I stepped away just for a second.
Yeah.
Again, another great Sonny Boy son there. I got to comment on the Facebook social if the live feed would be saved until Saturday. Yes, it'll be on Facebook. It's live now. Once we're finished, it'll still be on the Top Livestock Facebook page. And then we'll also tomorrow be uploading it to YouTube as well for your viewing up until sale day and after, to go back and learn some of the stuff that we went over in the pedigrees and how you potentially could use it in your herd.
All right, so Wild Man, he was a Sesame son. We really experience with the Sesame bloodline. Sesame son out of a Sting, those are some highly sought after genetics, and Kiko imports. Only their semen was sent over from New Zealand. They weren't actually imported themselves. We've seen offspring out of both of them, and we really like Wild Man had to offer to us, so we gave him a shot here, and we weren't it.
This isn't one that I've had any experience with, but I've watched them a lot of the sales, and the Sesame over the Sting deal has been very successful in the last few years. There's a lot of $5,000 to $10,000. A lot of times when one of them walks in the ring, it's $5,000 to $10,000 goes. So anytime you're selling $5 to $10 grand, you've got something that somebody likes. So,
Just kind of goes back to those original bloodlines. You know, they're kind of hard to find now. I believe the semen is all used up. A few straws of sesame out there, but you know, this is a good combination of both. He's a direct son of sesame out of a state daughter. You know, he was kind of a taller buck. He had pretty good thickness to him. His kids are awfully flashy. They're very wild, like you would expect from the New Zealand goats. We haven't had any issues with them in toughness or anything like that. They've well for us. They've been hard to handle and catch, but you know, if you're looking to dabble back into the original genetics, I think this is an opportunity to get that sesame thing combination right up close there.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's similar to James. I don't have a lot of experience with these directly. Um, I would have maybe an observation I'd make is in Mike's reference to them being kind of wild acting in keeping with being uh, first generation out of the New Zealand. Um, I'd be into, there's more and more information coming out about the importance of epigenetics and the effects of environment, um, especially the uterine environment, the development of kids. And so I'd have to think that these goats, that are direct sons, um, or grandsons of the uh, goats that not say were imports, but were actually never brought in here, but were raised on their New Zealand editions, might um, still have some of the epigenetics that were activated in their development hanging around. So it might be, I think these goats are quite interesting in what they bring to the table through that part of their development. That's all I might add on
Thank you. And lot 13, Lynn 8.
All right, lot 13 is Lynn 8. You know, he needs no introduction. He's a double bred grand of keeper. He's a line bred money maker. You know, he's one that we've seen for year after year that has just really gained attention in the Kiko breed. If you like color, you know, he's was one of the first spotted Kiko bucks. He tends to pass that on to his offspring. You know, he's sired multiple bucks that have been in the top 10 in the Maryland buck test. They've proven to parasitic resistance, great growth, and strong maternals. You know, if you're looking at it a little bit, this might be an avenue you can pursue. James, PJ, have
yeah,
either of you had any experience with Linate?
we've times using an AI program and um, happy with the kids. And unfortunately, I think we got a lot of bucks, and I don't think we have one registered doe sired by Lin 8, but we they were they were all very nice made, stout made kids that thrived, and they certainly carried some color with them for those that are. But that's important too. He does bring a lot of color to the table.
that. Yeah, so I never had a lineate, but just looking at the pedigree here, I could see, why he was liked and had impact and produced successful progeny. Um, Double bred keeper in the second line and rolling moneymaker in there a couple of times as well. So double red keeper, double red moneymaker. I think two goats that have, held on their influence through, decades now. And both of them, in this pedigree and line aping double bred to them, I think it's part of what tells me, that's part of why we're still talking about him, why he's known.
Okay. Lot 14.
All right, lot 14 is ECR Rusty's Rambo. He's an own son of ECR and Hanky, who was Nick's daughter. If any of you have been following Kiko's for any amount of time, Egypt Creek Ranch, Terry Hankins down there. He's been around forever, one of the first Kiko breeders in the industry, and these are a combination of his best genetics. Talking with Terry about Hanky Panky, the dam of her was one of those does that, one of the best on his farm. And this is the combination of all those genetics with, Rusty and Hanky Panky thrown close. So I think everybody could probably benefit from.
This is another one that I've not had any experience with on our farm. We've not used any Rusty. Obviously, we've had some Nick stuff and some Klondike stuff, but you can't take anything away from the ECR ranch. They been at it a long time, and I think if you talk to any of them down there, this is the best of the best of their stuff all put in one package. So anytime you get a chance to go that deep in the well, so to say, on a farm's breeding program, this is a good opportunity.
Yeah, pretty much similar to James. That I never used that this combination of pedigrees. Just looking at on the top there, Southwest Cisco to Rusty. I know Rusty is well liked by breeders in particular areas. Cisco, an own son of the original Terminator, thought to be an extremely tough animal. The on the bottom there of the hanky panky being a Nick daughter, Nick bring a lot of growth in multiple different bloodlines. So seems like we've got a combination of hard overgrowth.
Okay. I threw a note up there just on the previous lot. Mike, I don't know if you saw that, but Michael Weeby had gave a vote of confidence for CMB's girl. See anything out of her, he'd had seen good experience with, and that was Mr. Speckle's granddam as well on that previous lot. I think it was Lynn 8.
Yeah, but I believe she was referred to as Dottie. I think that's where a lot of the color comes from in different shows with Linate and Mr. Speckles and others. She was a spotted doe. Yep.
Okay. Lot 15, ECR Rustic.
So Rustic, he's a grandson of Rusty and Nick, who was known as Sunboy Stanton 149. His dam was 10 years old at the time he was born, and this is kind of all the best Egypt Creek Ranch genetics thrown into one package here. Good looking buck. That Nick or Rusty over Nick. That's a nation that did really well for Terry down there in Mississippi, and would probably do well for others as well.
Well, again, not to sound like a broken record, but this is another pedigree that, like I said, I hadn't used before. But as you said, if you can get the best of Terry's breeding program over all the years that he was in it, and put it all into one package, there's not many breeders out there that can not use that or not use it.
Yeah, I would just observe, not knowing the goats, but on that pedigree, it's pretty tight line breeding. Being the Rusty's Rambo out of the Hanky Panky doe, and the Hanky Panky doe being a sibling to the Princess Nikki doe on the bottom, that shows a lot of confidence from Terry that he wanted to line pretty hard for that line on the dam side, on both of those, the sire and the dam.
Yeah, and I believe the JTV Queen doe was the one that Terry was the fondest of, if I have that story right. So there's a reason he lined that up, I'm sure.
Lot 16.
So 16 is another ECR buck. This is Power Stroke. He's a son of Hanky Panky's wife, and he's Princess Nikki. Why 266 Dam is Hanky Panky, a Nick daughter. She was a dam of multiple herd bucks at Egypt Creek Ranch. According to Terry, she's one of those does that quietly had kids, produced embryos, and left a legacy of offspring that brought frame, muscling, rapid growth, and unbelievable maternals and award-winning hardiness to his herd and many others. Again, this is just, Terry Hankins at Egypt Creek Ranch, somebody who's Kiko's since the beginning, and this is the best of all his genetics combined into one package here.
Yeah, this Power Stroke, I guess, is a full brother to Rusty Nick, and it's just what we've said. I don't want to reiterate it, but it's a lot of great genetics all put into one package right here. This one just happens to be a goat of a different color.
Yeah, I don't think I have much to add other than that. The pedigree indicates that Terry really liked some of these does, and that they lasted a while. And, he really doubled down on what he liked.
Lot 17.
So 17 is SRK Biloxi Blue. SRK was the herd for Rittenhouse Kiko's. St. Mary McDonald. A lot of you remember Mary as the editor of the Goat Rancher. She's very near and dear to a lot of us. This was a buck that they used out of their Creek Ranch. And the I-266, and she was one of Terry's favorites. This buck has very good confirmation in the photos that I've seen of him. Thought he would be worth a try. So, that's really all I have to add of him. SRK Gracie, who's These are a rusty daughter out of a sports cat daughter. When you have sports cat in the pedigree, that adds a lot of thickness and color to the goats. We've seen that over the years as well.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to add. No, this is a kind of a neat change up to add the Tayonics in there with the Rusty and the Sports Cat. And then out of that Sky 409, that was another really good doe. I know it's back there a little bit, but this is, I see no reason why this buck shouldn't produce some excellent babies just based off pedigree alone.
Yeah, the only thing maybe to add there is in the notes where this the sire of this buck is Y266. They're the top training buck at the 2010 Western Illinois test, and other siblings of this buck took honor as the most parasite resistant bucks in the 2012 Oklahoma test. So Terry taught enough of them to test progeny and put the work and time into proving them, and so it and he got on the board both the gain both the gain and the worm resistance. So there's to James's point, there's a history to go with the pedigree.
Lot 18.
So lot 18 is Sky High Trickster. You know, he's the son of Blue Sun, which, everybody in the Kiko breed knows about Blue Sun. But the reason we invested in semen on Sky High Trickster is the dam side, who's Tasman Temptress. We had a son of Tasman Temptress and Sky High Kiss My Spot, who, just unbelievable in what he produced in our herd. Another son of Tasman Temptress is Sports Cat, which many getting into the breed or have been in the breed for a long time have heard of Sports Cat. So, having Tasman Temptress on the maternal side for the dog is Kiss My Spot and Sports Cat, we don't think you could go wrong with combining Blue Sun and Tasman Temptress.
I have to 100% agree with that. We had a GAL Ariel, was daughter of Sky High Trickster, that we had that still would be. That's another one of those that ranks real high in my book, and from those that we've had on the farm. And I'd like to have 20 just like her. She looked maternal, was maternal made, but still was full of meat, excellent udder. Um, PJ could probably tell you as much about her as I can. He studied her pretty hard there.
Yeah, so that's the dam of the buck I mentioned by Sonny Boy that bought from James. Uh, um, Gal Ariel was one of to me those stood out just a little bit more to me out of James's herd. He had accumulated quite a set of those, sort of a murder row of famous does. But Gal Ariel, um, to James's description, had plenty of substance, a lot of femininity, um, but just a really, really excellent udder and confirmation. So that was part of why I went ahead and bought that Sonny Boy son, particularly out of that doe. And so that buck just produced some really, really excellent does that I kidded out under trees in the cold in Jersey. We'd come out and find them with two kids gathered up and under them, and you didn't have to do anything. They were really excellent locator does. The trickster that though, to reiterate, Gal Ariel trickster daughter. I talked briefly to Sky years ago about Trickster, and it, at the time he didn't really fit with the program I had. Just I had you know copyright and a lot of Blue Sun blood. Um, but Sky was pretty high on it and liked what he thought he would bring to a herd. I think he had a lot of natural survival instinct, and I'm glad to have used a little bit of his influence to produce some good dough.
Okay. Lot 19, W&B Hobo.
So Hobo, was one of the sons of Pango. He was on the maternal side. It was a daughter who crosses for Terry there at Egypt Creek Ranch. She sold several of those Nick Loria crosses. Hobo was the offspring of a flush between Warren Barnes and John Smith. Pango had several top 10 sons and grandsons at the Maryland Buck Test. I think this line is best known for its parasite resistance and excellent udders. According to Warren, Hobo had it all: growth, parasite resistance, and an attitude of just leave me alone. He was a flushmate brother of WMB Mingo, who James had the pleasure of owning. I don't know, James, if you have anything to add here.
You said it pretty good there. He was the perfect combination of confirmation, meat, parasite resistance, and leave me alone. That's that says it pretty good. We I remember we took Mingo to REI, which Bull Nanza was REI at the time, and it was buck collection, and we got three hot does standing out in front of these bucks that are in pens, and Mingo's looking out through the woods, a quarter mile away, trying to figure out how to get there. He could care less about the people. The daughters that we have out of Mingo still are phenomenal. Um, a little bigger bodied for the I would call him a tough sire. To produce the maternal parasite resistant, good footed type does, but they're a little bigger bodied than some of the others that I would put in that category. Great udders, just everything you could want in a doe. Reason why Hobo would be. I've not used Hobo myself. I know the Hancocks have had great luck with him. I know Warren had great luck with him. So I think this is a great opportunity. If he sires like Mingo does, this should be on everybody's short list, in my opinion.
Uh, what I would
Oh,
contribute there is that, uh, sorry, James, you have something?
no, I just realized I got pointed out that you know everyone asks how much I liked Mingo. There's not many of them that my wife liked as much as I do, but y'all can see over my head there's a painting of a black goat up there. That's a painting that she had made of Mingo. So, just for an example.
Mm. So he was a household favorite.
Exactly.
Um, yeah, so um, in Maryland, Pango was, I'm trying to remember, Mike, two or 3 years in a row, he sort of dominated in the top 10. And uh, John, I remember talking to John about him, and he explaining that he was the type of sire that could clean up udders on does, and he just was prepotent on good udders and good feet. I had a couple of daughters of Pango um, that they were just very independent, very sound, highly fertile fecund. Even in the succeeding generations, they would be some of the first female kids to come in heat, whether you liked it or not. Don't have experience with hobo or mingo. I would just observe on to James's comment that they're on the bottom there, the ECR Condi with his pretty line bred to Moneymaker and he's got Nick, but Moneymaker generators in there. Even on the top on the Tasman Toya, Tasman Toya being the direct daughter or aristocrat. So you've got some stuff there that would, troll sites down the line.
Okay. Lot 20.
All right, last but not least, this is HK Cherokee Fiddler. I know a lot of folks have used Cherokee Fiddler over these. He's a good combination of the Loverboy genetics as well as the genetics. The name was MGR Lightning's Lady P21, who was a full sister to Lightning's Titan. I don't know, James, have either of you guys used Cherokee Fiddler?
We used Cherokee Fiddler a couple of times. Honestly, I like Loverboy, but my favorite part of Cherokee Fiddler is that Lightning's Lady P21. I mean, you can't. That's a tough one to replicate. So anytime you get a chance to put that female into your program, it's a hard to beat those old Lightning daughters, and especially that one. And I'm sure PJ has a few thoughts about that particular female.
Well, there's a reason I bought Cherokee Fiddler straws back then. I think he was one of these sires that maybe got a little bit lost in the mix, but that combination of Loverboy and the Moneymaker line over the Lightning sort of line bred generator stuff, that proved to be sort of a killer combination several times. That P21's relatedness to copyright stamp in the poster, there's that the sort of firepower that Lightning and especially those type of does that were Titan's generation, they really put average daily gain in the background, and the prepotency of it seemed to be extremely strong. I know that when I got copyright first, I put them over a small set of does, and I had quite a few bucks at the time. The next year, that copyright set of kids just excel past pretty much everything else each other sire group, and I give a lot of credit in that to some of the firepower that threw it down. And I think that Cherokee Fiddler, is a vessel for some of that genetics for somebody to try to weave that into their program.
Yeah, we talk about the genetics, and then you look at the picture of him. That's a perfect example of a meat goat. I mean, that's a stout-made, heavy-muscled meat goat that should have all of the toughness and hardiness that one could want out of that pedigree.
Okay, that's
I
it.
guess that brings us to the end of the review. Mike and Lori, I'd just like to say thank you to the two of y'all for offering this group of straws to the public. There's some of these in here that I know you didn't want to offer. So from Andy and Paige and Amber and myself, we're excited to be able to offer these for you. And to anyone out there in the bidding world land, if you have any questions, don't be afraid to reach out to Mike or Andy or myself. I'm sure they'll probably anyone will tell you they'll answer the phone before I will. So I'm I'm usually not very good at answering a telephone during the day, but don't be afraid to reach out if you have any questions.
All right. Well, thanks again, everyone. We really appreciate you tuning in and bearing with us on the technical difficulties to start with. But, we feel confident all of these offerings that we're putting out there would, any hurt out there right now. So thanks.
Okay. Just in closing, I'd like to thank again PJ, James, and Mike, and definitely Mike and Lori for, like what James said, is offering these lots. I just want to add a note. If you're new to getting into the genetics game and you're wondering what am I going to do with this, you can wait till you have the doe that you want to use it on, or if you have the doe now, you can use it immediately. But don't hesitate on potentially getting in on this sale. Doesn't come around often. Some of these straws are the first time that Mike and Lori have ever offered publicly, so a great chance for you. And I'd like to give everyone that's bared with us and you guys that done the narrating a quick. Oh, wrong button. We give you one of these.
Maybe
How about a little applause? Thanks for everybody for hanging in through the difficulties. And again, you can watch this on Facebook. I recommend you share it, get it out there because there's a lot of educational information here about the Kiko breed. Thanks again. See you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.